My brother harbors a dream of quitting his job and enjoying a life of leisure upon winning the lottery. One day, he mysteriously clutched a lottery ticket and proclaimed, "Dear sister, I dreamt of a set of winning numbers. I am destined for wealth." I scoffed at his whimsical fantasy and, in an effort to dispel his unrealistic hopes, purchased a contrasting lottery ticket. To my astonishment, I won 50 million. Upon discovering the truth, my brother completely lost his mind. Convinced that I had usurped his fortune, he rallied our family to conspire against me, deceitfully stripping me of my newfound wealth. When I finally discerned the reality and sought to reclaim what was rightfully mine through legal means, my family maliciously turned against me, attempting to end my life for the sake of money. If you enjoy my tale, be sure to follow and like so you won't miss more captivating stories. Now, the main narrative is about to commence. In this new life, I must guard my purse tightly. Let them personally experience the anguish I endured in my previous existence. As I approached my doorstep, the shattering sound of glass unexpectedly pierced my ears, rendering me motionless in bewilderment. After a brief silence within, as my fingertips grazed the door, my brother's frantic screams shattered my composure. It seemed that the inevitable had indeed transpired. Calmly, I retrieved the lottery ticket, the winning numbers causing my eyes to moisten unknowingly. I end my former life. My brother's ticket had failed, while mine had triumphed. He raged, violently smashing objects in the living room, venting his impotent fury. It was I who extracted that ticket from my pocket. "Brother, I have won the lottery." Once his initial anger subsided, his gaze fixated on the ticket in my hand. The moment he snatched the ticket away with his fingers, akin to a hydraulic clamp, tears welled up in his murky eyes, cascading down his face. "Our family's good days are upon us," he proclaimed, tilting his head back, releasing the pent-up emotions that had long been suppressed. I, too, felt genuine joy for my brother. The entire family, overwhelmed with tears of joy, encircled me, proclaiming me the savior of our household. However, I merely allowed the thought to drift away lightly. I fixated on the ticket, tracing the lingering pain on my neck, a remnant of a past life where my brother had strangled me with a hemp rope, crumpling the ticket and concealing it within my garments. This time, I would not naively disclose my winnings as I had in my previous life. This ticket, which had once led to my demise, would now be a means to ensure they repay their blood debts in this incarnation. With composure, I pushed open the door, entirely disregarding our mother, who cowered in the corner, and marched across the shards of glass to take a seat on the sofa. Brother Jack cast a menacing glare my way, while I casually tossed a half-eaten plate into the wastebasket beside me. "Brother, why so furious?" I provocatively met his gaze. Jack stared at me, his vicious look filled with confusion. He could not comprehend why I appeared so indifferent today. Just before his reddened visage erupted, it softened unexpectedly. With his face buried in his hands, he seemed somewhat embarrassed, speaking to me in a lowered tone. "Dear sister, today I have committed a despicable act, unworthy of a human being." I apologized, as I stood in astonishment. Jack's once bright gaze transformed into something insatiably greedy. "My dear sister, do you recall our venture into the lottery? In your desire to outdo me, you purchased a ticket with opposing numbers, did you not? Bring it forth for your brother to see." Jack rubbed his hands together, donning a sycophantic expression. I was taken aback. My usually dull-witted brother had become unexpectedly calculating today. An ominous sensation enveloped me, piercing my heart like a jolt of electricity. In that fleeting second, I was overtaken by theatrics, my mouth forming an exaggerated O of shock. "Brother, why did you not mention this sooner?" Had I known, I would have surely purchased the opposite ticket. In an instant, Jack appeared as if doused with a bucket of cold water. His flushed face turned an alarming shade of pale. Trembling, he stammered, "So you mean to say you did not buy it?" "I did. I purchased the same numbers as you," I shouted, nearly causing him to spew blood in disbelief, as if he were on the brink of demise. Suddenly, the world fell into an eerie silence. Jack slowly lifted his face, his pallid countenance swelling to a frightening purple hue. "You useless fool. Who the hell told you to buy the same numbers as me?" In a fit of anger and humiliation, he yanked me from the sofa and violently tossed me aside. Losing my balance, I fell to the ground. The chill of the floor could not suppress the fury bubbling within me. Instinctively, I seized a shard of glass from the ground, clutching it tightly in my palm. My brother seized the glass cup at hand, and hurled it violently against the floor, the shards exploding in a moment that seemed to shatter all my pent-up frustration and fury. "Everything is worthless. I raised you for nothing," he shouted in agitation, his voice gradually transforming into sobs, an uncontrollable tide of emotion crashing over him. He knelt amidst the scattered fragments, lamenting bitterly the fortune that had slipped through his fingers. At that moment, the door swung open once more. Standing in the doorway, my sister-in-law's pupils dilated in shock, her lips parted in disbelief at the chaos that enveloped the room. "Jack, what the hell are you doing? Get up." Under her imposing presence, my brother rose, resembling a soulless shell, shuffling back into the room like a specter. His silhouette was so heart-wrenching that it evoked pity in any onlooker, except for me, whose eyes were filled with malice. In the end, my sister-in-law slammed the door shut in front of me, a clear warning directed at my being. The room fell into an eerie silence, punctuated only by the faint sound of my own breathing, a testament to my continued existence. At that moment, my mother, huddled in the corner, glared at me with a fierce intensity. "You wretched harbinger of doom. You've squandered our family's future. That's a staggering 50 million.
Damn you.
Mom, I didn't win that prize. It was lost there. You never listened to your brother. You're going to drive me to madness." My mother leapt up, her skeletal fingers gripping my hand tightly. "Damn you. This is all your fault. Look at our family. Look at what it's become." I gazed upon that distorted visage, once filled with trepidation at the thought of inciting my mother's wrath, consumed by concern for her well-being. Yet, as she conspired with Jack to bring about my demise, I found myself harboring a visceral aversion to the very name mother. I forcefully withdrew my hand. "If you believe that my lottery ticket has thwarted your prospects of wealth, then by all means, procure one for yourself, preferably using your pension." My mother was momentarily taken aback by my words, her astonishment lingering before she succumbed to a torrent of despair, collapsing to the ground in a fit of tears. "Oh, woe is me for having raised such a cursed child. Heaven, I beseech thee, take me away." I cast her a cold glance before rising to retreat to my room. Behind me, my mother erupted in a cacophony of anguished screams, a deluge of crude curses pouring forth. Surely, she did not anticipate that tonight I would learn to resist, a notion intolerable to her. Night enveloped me, my heart raced with excitement, yearning to embark on a journey to the provincial capital and claim my grand prize. Just as I indulged in dreams of a splendid future, envisioning the life that awaited me post-victory, the door lock was cautiously turned, and my brother stealthily entered. His gaze bore into me even with my eyes closed. I could feel the fury radiating from him. What could my brother want? My heart raced in trepidation. Help! Am I to be slain before I have even redeemed my winnings? Just as I trembled, my mind a blank slate, my brother suddenly called out softly into the air, "Sister, sister." Seeing my lack of response, my brother's audacity grew bolder as he stealthily rummaged through my discarded clothing. After a fruitless search, he began to overturn drawers and cabinets, ultimately yielding nothing but a smile unconsciously graced my lips as I feigned sleep. This fool truly believed I would keep the lottery ticket in my room. Once my brother dejectedly exited the room, my hand found its way to my undergarments, retrieving the crumpled ticket from my B.R.A.'d eye in the darkness. My face was illuminated by a radiant smile. Yet, in the latter half of the night, I found myself trapped in a recurring dream, narrating the tragic tale of my past life. Having been robbed of my wealth, my family's indifference to my plight left me in a state of despair. Upon awakening, tears soaked my pillow. If I could not exact revenge, I would forever dwell in the shadow of my former existence. The burning desire for vengeance consumed me, igniting an inferno within my very being. The dawn before the light is the darkest. I end this new life. I quietly tucked away my uncontainable excitement, regardless of the storms raging outside. Each day, I adhered to a routine, clocking in and out of work with an air of normalcy. Upon returning home, I would invariably find my brother slumped on the sofa, lamenting his fate. "Why didn't I just buy a ticket?" he would exclaim, his words punctuated by wails echoing through the air. Guilt rendered his eyes bloodshot, robbing him of appetite and hydration as he languished like a mere shell of his former self, a victim of his own despair. Perhaps it is indeed a blessing to dismantle an adversary with effortless ease. Just as I reveled in this thought, my brother abruptly turned, snapping me back to the reality of the moment. "Dear sister, Who do you think has stolen my good fortune?" His eyes were bloodshot, filled with an unwillingness to accept the truth. A palpable sense of crisis enveloped me, tightening my nerves. Could my brother still be doubting me? Suspecting that I had pocketed the lottery winnings? "Brother, how could I possibly know?" I deflected his inquiry. "I heard from the lottery shop that the winner is a young woman." "Sister, we are family. If you won, I would be overjoyed for you." "Not coveting your ticket," he replied, his face adorned with a smile, the curve of his lips resembling a rusty key attempting to unlock a door shrouded in secrets. I chuckled. Were it not for the chance to relive this moment, I might have revealed the ticket. "Brother, I've told you repeatedly, the ticket I bought is identical to yours." "Then show me the ticket," he demanded, his gaze laced with mistrust. Confronted by him, I felt a twinge of guilt. "Brother, the ticket didn't win, I simply discarded it." "Discarded?" He scoffed. "If it had won, would you have thrown it away?" It appeared my brother remained unconvinced. "I had to take a risk, brother," I said, my cheeks flushing. "If you truly doubt me, your sister, would I ever keep the winnings to myself if I did win? You are my dearest kin." As emotion surged, I found myself choked with sobs. My usually composed brother was completely thrown into disarray. Grasping my hand in a comforting manner, he murmured, "I am not worthy. I have caused you distress." He struck his own face, persistently offering me words of comfort. I endeavored to suppress the urge to laugh, yet tears streamed down my cheeks uncontrollably. Indeed, I was weeping, mourning the injustices of my past life. From this moment forth, I shall no longer shed tears for any executioner. With a sudden motion, I wiped away the traces of my tears with my sleeve. Having cried once was akin to a true rebirth. "Brother, go dream. Seek the lottery numbers in your slumber. Outside the room, your sister will stand guard, ensuring no one disturbs you." My brother, taken aback in disbelief, gazed at me with astonishment. Previously, our family had often remarked that his fantasies of winning the lottery were mere folly, a delusion of grandeur. Yet now, with the unwavering support of his devoted sister, a brilliant light sparkled in his eyes. "My dear sister, I shall not disappoint your expectations." As soon as the words left his lips, he turned and retreated to his room, slamming the door behind him with a resounding bang. Days passed, and I restored the once chaotic room to its former state. As I traced the smooth wall, I noticed cracks had begun to form, an ominous sign of impending collapse. Within our home, we refrained from mentioning anything related to the lottery. Only my brother would occasionally come to me, lamenting that he could no longer dream of winning. As the fervor surrounding the lottery gradually subsided, my brother seemed to reconcile with reality, finding the act of purchasing tickets increasingly futile. It appeared that I must take matters into my own hands. The following morning, I boarded a high-speed train to the provincial capital. I delivered the winning numbers to the lottery center, and then donned a pink leopard costume, posing with the grand prize for a photograph. After deducting a 20 tax, I was left with 40 million. I calculated it on my fingers and decisively donated 5 million. Since the heavens have granted me life once more, I shall not let their expectations down. With a heart full of gratitude, I am willing to give back to society and punish the wicked. The remaining 30 million shall be deposited in the bank, leaving 5 million for my expenses. The thought that the interest on 30 million would far surpass my salary filled me with joy, prompting me to contemplate whether I should continue working. However, after a brief moment of exhilaration, I ultimately resolved to return to my job. Upon my silent return home, I resumed my routine of work. I seemed to possess a greater sense of tranquility than before, no longer preoccupied with the gains or losses of my profession. Time passed swiftly after the windfall. I suddenly perceived that everyone around me had transformed for the better. As I pushed open the door, I was abruptly thrust back into the weighty reality. The wall was adorned with photographs of lottery winners, which filled me with dread. A vivid red cross starkly marked the winning photograph, with a blood-red pushpin piercing the center of the forehead. I had become the imagined rival of my brother. As I pondered my vengeance, a heavy hand pressed down on my shoulder. A jolt of electricity coursed through my body. The loud gasp that escaped my throat turned into a startled glance at my brother, whose avaricious gaze pierced right into my soul. There was no distinction between his eyes and those of a beast. "Sis, what are you so nervous about?" "Brother, you startled me. Is it true that one who harbors no guilty deeds fears the knocking of ghosts?" A piercing danger glimmered deep within his pupils, like ominous clouds shrouding my vision. My heart thundered relentlessly, akin to the oppressive rumble of February storms. In a fleeting moment, I seemed to capture echoes of past lives from my brother's gaze, sister. Isn't it peculiar? I had a dream where you snatched away my fortune, winning 50 million. Isn't that strange? Quite strange, I replied, feigning nonchalance while striving to suppress the turmoil within. Once again, I donned the guise of an actress. If only I had wealth, I could help you realize your dreams, I rasped, on the verge of tears. My dear sister, your heartfelt sentiment is more than enough for me, he said, his eyes glistening with moisture. Rest assured, once I strike it rich, I will ensure you live a life of comfort. Thank you, brother. After he departed, I exhaled deeply, only to realize that my body trembled involuntarily. A voice echoed from the depths of my mind, warning me. Time is running short. I must act swiftly, resolving matters before my brother fully recollects the past. The reflection in the mirror revealed a face devoid of compassion. In the days that followed, my brother seemed to revert to his previous state of discontent. Perhaps it was the photograph of me in a Pink Panther costume adorning the wall that reignited his determination, for he resumed purchasing lottery tickets with fervor. Yet, the repeated disappointments and setbacks led him to doubt himself profoundly, rendering my reassurances seemingly ineffective. As I observed the plan for revenge being postponed day by day, I feared that at this pace, I might not achieve my vengeance even after a decade. After much contemplation, I found myself at a lottery shop, approaching the owner with a mindset of tentative hope, proposing a transaction. I expressed my desire to invest 50,000 yuan in acquiring a ticket that would potentially yield a prize of 3,000 yuan in the future. The lottery shop owner regarded me with a puzzled expression, as if I were mad, yet ultimately he agreed to keep an eye out for me. For my second plan, since my brother had been relentlessly seeking the identity of the lottery winner, I decided to grant him his wish. I promptly created a secondary account, diligently crafting a persona on social media. I enlisted assistance on a certain platform to establish a virtual address and appropriated images from several female internet celebrities. After meticulous preparation, my character was that of a wealthy but romantically unfortunate young woman, traveling the globe in search of a fateful encounter. With everything in place, I added Jack's WeChat account. Before long, Jack responded with a smiling emoji and a simple greeting. Hello, did I heard you were looking for me? I replied. A series of question marks appeared in the chat window. I quickly sent him a photograph of the lottery ticket taken before the prize was claimed. I noticed the chat header indicating, the other party is typing. After more than a minute, an angry emoji accompanied by the message appeared. It was you. You stole my lottery ticket. I was taken aback by how swiftly my brother had extinguished the conversation. Would you like to know how I managed to steal it? I inquired. After sending the message, I decided to let him stew for a while. Half an hour later, I discovered a flurry of 99 messages in WeChat, all stemming from Jack's unrestrained outpouring. His words were laced with fury, yet beneath it lay a more profound sense of humble supplication, recounting his current predicament, accompanied by a hint of ambiguity. How did you come to know this set of numbers? I inquired. I dreamed of them. What a coincidence. I too envisioned them. Upon dreaming of the numbers, I memorized them, only to turn around and collide with someone who advised me, to achieve your goals, one must often take the opposite path to deny. It is to fail. The dialogue box once again displayed that he was typing, I truly am. Suddenly, a series of loud thuds erupted from outside, and I could sense my brother's imminent breakdown, causing me to burst into laughter akin to a pig's squeal. I dreamt of those numbers, and in my excitement, I jotted them down the moment I awoke. I swear, I was in tears. And then there's my foolish sister, who intended to provoke me by purchasing a ticket herself. That wretched money grubber, knowing I was destined for a windfall, decided to buy the same ticket as I did. Damn it! I am in tears. I suppressed the rising tide of irritation within me, and typed in response. Do not despair even when clouds obscure the sun, and swords shatter while banners fall. Diligence shall be rewarded, and dawn will inevitably arrive. Once more, the dialogue box indicated he was typing. I buried my face deep into the pillow, laughter surging through me like a tidal wave, shaking my entire being. I may not comprehend fully, but I am profoundly moved. Engaging in conversation with you sends shivers through my very soul. I initially thought you were here to mock me, yet you continuously offer me solace, warming my heart in the process. Finding a kindred spirit in life is a rare treasure. If you wouldn't mind, might I invite you to dine with me, so we may engage in heartfelt discourse throughout the long night? Upon glancing at the messages on my phone, the corners of my mouth lifted higher than an AK can suppress. I never anticipated that my usually stoic brother would display such an unexpected charm today. There will be opportunities in the future. Our conversation continued, albeit in fits and starts. I casually depicted my background as rather tragic before my stroke of luck. I was but a transparent figure in my household, despised by all, whereas now I reign as my own queen. My words struck a chord with my brother, who began to recount his own unfortunate experiences and the injustices dealt by fate. Yet, before long, his tone would shift back to a rather greasy demeanor, sending an array of peculiar emojis my way. You make my heart race like that of an 18-year-old lad encountering you feels akin to being reborn. As I suppressed my retching, I found myself begrudgingly continuing this awkward dialogue with my brother, only to grow increasingly weary of the banality that often accompanies. Middle-aged men, I was filled with a distaste for his unfounded confidence. Do you know? You are currently enduring one of the most arduous phases of your life, much like the circumstances I once faced. But I never conceded defeat. I firmly believed that I could win 50 million, granting me the freedom to live a life of happiness that is truly my own. You will succeed, trust me. From your words, I perceive an unprecedented surge of powerful energy. You are destined for great achievements. I firmly believe that you will attain a modest goal in the lottery. Thank you. You are the unquenchable flame in the furnace of my soul. Even if it consumes this body, I shall allow the ashes to drift towards the distant place where you reside. I will not disappoint your expectations. I chuckled, unaware of where my brother had gleaned such phrases. As I lay in bed, I found myself laughing heartily once more. Since my brother has been encouraged by another version of myself, he seems to have transformed into a different person, his gaze intense and unwavering. Every evening after work, he diligently delves into the world of lottery tickets, vowing to uncover the patterns that will propel him beyond Elon Musk. My own life remains serene. The anonymity of being an unseen lottery winner brings me joy. At 5 p.m., I stretched languidly and rose from my workstation. Amidst the astonished gazes of my colleagues and the enigmatic look from my boss, I clocked out for the day. Behind the scenes, I continued to play the role of a confidant, quietly encouraging my brother. I searched online, in forums, and within QQ groups for methods to strike it rich. Then shared every insight with him without reservation, and he eagerly absorbed it all. Consequently, our household's meals became sparse. Initially, my nephew complained, clamoring for a large chicken leg. My mother had no choice but to use her meager retirement funds to treat her grandson. My sister-in-law also began to berate my brother for his obsession with the lottery. They often erupted into fierce arguments over trivial matters. This family is utterly falling apart. I found myself hiding in my room, scrolling through Douyin while munching on spicy chicken wings from KFC, my lips greasy with sauce. You either stay or leave. If you leave, so be it. Jack. You said it. I heard my sister-in-law's voice rise in anger. I quickly jumped off the bed, pressing my ear to the door to eavesdrop. A dramatic scene was about to unfold. I mean it, if you've had enough, just go. But don't regret it later. My sister-in-law stormed into the room and slammed the door with a resounding thud. Upon stepping outside, I saw my mother embracing my little nephew, tears silently streaming down her face. My son, it seems you have been possessed. You were never like this before. Mom, leave me alone. My brother retorted with irritation. Soon, my sister-in-law, dragging a suitcase large enough to deplete our family's resources, prepared to leave home. My mother, quick-witted and swift, immediately intervened, crying out, "Sure. It is all my fault. This family cannot exist without you." My nephew clung to his mother's leg, refusing to let her go. I needed my sister-in-law. I required this woman. I could not allow her to slip away so easily. Memories flooded back. She used to curse me daily for being a freeloader, often threatening to expel me. Back then, my father was alive, and this house was purchased by him, registered under my mother's name. Logically, I should have had a share in it, yet she consistently belittled me. My mother, with her gentle disposition, lacked the courage to resist even slightly. And thus I became an utter outcast. Jack, await the lawyer's arrival. Let us see who will regret it more, my sister-in-law declared, forcefully pushing my mother aside and charging toward the door with her suitcase. My mother's pleading gaze pierced my brother's heart, and ultimately, unable to contain himself. He spoke up, "Wife, I was wrong. Henceforth, I shall never buy lottery tickets again." "Jack, were you not just very assertive?" my sister-in-law countered. My brother lowered his head, the veins on his neck bulging, yet his eyes remained fixated on the stack of lottery tickets on the table. Sister-in-law stood with her hands on her hips, a frigid expression gracing her lips. "It seems you have not given up after all." As soon as the words left her mouth, her pointed boots struck the table, and a neatly stacked pile of lottery tickets erupted into a shower of silver confetti. My brother's complexion turned ashen, and the cascading lottery rain bore down upon him like a relentless affliction. This was filled with his pride and the promise of future happiness, now trampled beneath sister-in-law's feet. "Jack, let me make this clear. If you wish to maintain this marriage, you must surrender your entire salary to me every month. I will not allow a single penny to remain in the hands of a man. Do you understand?" "I understand," he replied, the words escaping his lips as if forced through clenched teeth, and I realized the plan would need to change. Just as I was mulling over my strategy, my nephew's keen gaze locked onto me. He extended his tongue to lick his lips, suddenly releasing sister-in-law's thigh and charging toward me, exclaiming, "KFC. I want to eat." In that moment, panic surged through me. The KFC bucket was sitting on the bed. He darted past me and flew into the room. Moments later, he emerged gleefully clutching the bucket of KFC, a spicy chicken wing clamped between his teeth, beaming foolishly at his mother. "Mom, Auntie is secretly eating KFC." Instantly, the icy stares of the entire family converged upon me. "Look at what you've raised, Mother. My son is in his growth phase, and this good daughter of yours dares to sneak food behind everyone's back." My mother and brother cast a fierce glare at me, chilling my heart. In the past, everything in this household was purchased by me. The daily necessities, rice, oil, and salt were all my doing. Under the relentless indoctrination from my mother and brother, I found myself tending to my brother and sister-in-law's family like a caretaker. Reflecting on this, I cannot help but resent my past self for being so naive. Since your son is in a phase of growth, I will ensure he receives ample nourishment, indeed, abundant sustenance. After work, I returned home, carrying 2 large bags laden with food. The items, which my brother and sister-in-law often deemed extravagant, were laid out on the table, and my sister-in-law's eyes sparkled as she turned her demeanor towards me with newfound gentleness. "Sister, this lavish spread must have cost quite a fortune," my brother remarked with a smile. "Not much at all, just a bonus from work," I replied with a smile, watching my little nephew eagerly seize a Boston lobster and devour it voraciously. "Juang is growing, he must eat well," I said sweetly. "Thank you, Auntie," my nephew exclaimed as he indulged in the feast. "Eat, eat, let me cultivate your appetite." Subsequently, I embarked on a mission to occasionally treat my nephew. I often brought a KFC family bucket to school. The moment he spotted me, his eyes lit up, and he snatched the bucket with glee, devouring its contents. "Juang, share a bit of your food with your friends. Good things are meant to be shared," I suggested, noticing the students peeking from around the corner, their eyes wide with anticipation. He turned his back, clutching the paper bucket tightly, burying his face in it like a little pig. A wave of nausea washed over me as I fought against the urge to vomit. "Juang, how about your aunt brings you KFC every day from now on?" "Sure," the little rascal replied without lifting his head. I felt an overwhelming desire to kick him, but I restrained myself. In the past, I had taken responsibility for his education and cared for his daily needs, ensuring he consumed healthy and nutritious food. Yet, that was no match for the occasional indulgence of his uncle and aunt taking him to KFC. This little brat. When I was left with nothing and was on the brink of fainting from hunger, I had begged him for something to eat, expecting him to remember the kindness I had shown him. Instead, he tossed me a nearly picked clean chicken bone. "Aunt, eat up. I've got a big chicken leg for you, it's KFC." On the verge of starvation, I seized the chicken bone and shoved it into my mouth. My throat was pierced with pain as I bit down on the bone, swallowing it with tears held back. "Aunt is a dog. Aunt is a barking dog. Bark for me, and I'll reward you with a bone." Enduring the agony in my stomach, I stood up and grabbed his neck, intent on squeezing the life out of him. But weakened by hunger, my vision blurred, and the little brat delivered a powerful punch to my temple, causing me to black out. When I regained consciousness, I saw my nephew gleefully devouring a bucket of KFC, flashing a sycophantic smile in my direction. Upon spotting a few boys peeking from around the corner, I had already formulated a plan. Zhuangzhuang, is KFC delicious? Absolutely. Zhuangzhuang beamed brightly. After leaving school, I swiftly retrieved my sunglasses, mask, and cap from my backpack. Once fully equipped, I mounted my electric scooter to track down my sister-in-law. In my previous life, upon inadvertently discovering my sister-in-law's infidelity, I was beset by a profound sense of unease. Once she became aware of my knowledge, she resorted to both threats and temptations. When I steadfastly refused to sink to her level and attempted to disclose the matter to my brother, she preemptively cast herself as the victim, producing explicit photographs of me with another man and spreading malicious rumors that I was a promiscuous woman. My mother unleashed the most venomous curses upon me, addressing me with the harshest of words, vowing to sever our mother-daughter bond. My brother looked upon me with contempt, his eyes brimming with disgust. No one would heed my pleas for vindication. In my despair, I revealed the truth, yet they remained incredulous. Rumors swirled like wildfire, and my attempts to refute them were in vain. In no time, the entire neighborhood was aware of my supposed indiscretions. As I walked along the streets, I was met with accusatory stares. My mental state deteriorated, the boyfriend I had cherished for years abandoned me, and my work performance plummeted, leading to my dismissal from the company. With the dual blows of unemployment and heartbreak, I found myself spiraling into the depths of despair. Furthermore, my family seized upon this as an excuse to strip me of my assets. I swiftly transformed from the beloved member of the family to the most loathed. However, upon uncovering the truth and striving to reclaim what was rightfully mine, their malevolent nature reemerged with alarming clarity. When I presented them with the lottery ticket as my final ultimatum, they imprisoned me, locking me in a basement while relentlessly administering psychiatric drugs, turning me into a mere shadow of myself. The subsequent events are too painful to recount. I resolutely cast aside the haunting memories that lingered in my mind. I deftly extracted my camera, capturing a poignant moment of my sister-in-law entwined with another man. Each intimate snapshot sent shivers down my spine. Suddenly, the man's gaze swept in my direction, compelling me to lower my head and conceal myself within the underbrush. Hand in hand, they strolled leisurely deeper into the thicket. With the heart of a thief, I stealthily followed. Behind the sturdy trunk of a grand tree, my sister-in-law bent down, lifting her skirt to her waist, as the man swiftly produced that thing. Good heavens, a clandestine encounter. I raised my camera and swiftly pressed the shutter, the sound echoing as I repositioned to capture irrefutable evidence of her infidelity. As I gazed at the scandalous images within the camera, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. A month swiftly passed, yet there was still no news of the lottery. Just as I began to lose faith, the lottery shop owner unexpectedly called. I promptly arranged to meet him, transferring 50,000 yuan in exchange. Now, I possessed a new bargaining chip. Ever since my brother's salary card was seized by my sister-in-law, he had been so financially strained that he couldn't even afford a pack of cigarettes. While providing him with support, I never ceased to encourage him to buy lottery tickets. Secretly, I mixed that winning ticket among his purchases. I understood that a man who had once been on the brink of wealth would never willingly accept a life of mediocrity. Once one has tasted the bitterness of missed fortune, their entire mindset transforms. The seed has been sown. Now, it is time for it to take root and flourish. When the heavens wish to bring about one's downfall, they first drive them to madness. So let the madness ensue. Upon returning home from work, I pushed open the door and was immediately greeted by the sight of my family of four reveling in joyful camaraderie in the living room. The dining table was strewn with remnants of their meal, lobster shells scattered haphazardly across the surface. However, as soon as they noticed my presence, the jubilant atmosphere abruptly dissipated, leaving behind a chilling silence that lingered momentarily. "Hey sis, you're back," my brother exclaimed, his excitement barely concealing the thrill he felt from a recent lottery win. I nodded in acknowledgement, deliberately averting my gaze from my sister-in-law's frosty countenance. "Zhuangzhuang, be sure to eat plenty," I said, as my nephew eagerly grabbed a greasy lobster claw, shoving it into his mouth without so much as looking up. Approaching the table, I found it littered with empty bowls, stripped bare of their contents. My mother wore a somewhat uncomfortable expression, but mustered the courage to softly invite me to join them for dinner. "I've already eaten, Mom," I replied, before retreating to my room, my stomach grumbling in protest. After changing my clothes, I left the house and ventured to a restaurant I had long wished to visit but had never dared to enter. I ordered the most extravagant meal on the menu to treat myself. The anticipation of indulging in a sumptuous feast was exhilarating. I could hardly contain my excitement. Half a month slipped by without another visit to school to feed my nephew. Today, upon seeing me, he rushed towards me with the enthusiasm of a child spotting a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. "Auntie, I've missed you so much," he exclaimed, his round face beaming with delight. "Craving some KFC, are we?" I inquired, to which he nodded fervently, eagerly expressing his desire. I handed him the family bucket, and he snatched it away, devouring it with unrestrained delight. "Zhuang, your aunt has some matters to attend to. Enjoy your meal, I must take my leave now." He raised his face, nervously glancing around. "Aunt, stay with me. You must behave. Do you still wish to enjoy the bucket of delights next time?" "I do." He swallowed hard, gazing longingly at me. "Next time, I shall bring you delicious treats." With that, I turned on my heel and departed without a backward glance. As I stepped outside the school gates, I noticed a group of tall, slender boys approaching. In a flash, the bucket of delights was snatched away. Zhuang covered his face with his hands, on the verge of tears, while one boy raised his fist triumphantly. I chuckled and turned to leave. In a previous life, Zhuang had also faced bullying. Upon discovering this, I rallied a few assertive friends from the community to stand up for him, and the bullies dared not torment him again. Gradually, he found comfort in his life, no longer content to merely be an ordinary middle school student. He even learned to bully others in return. Now, his father was preoccupied with the lottery, neglecting him completely. His mother spent her days rendezvousing with an old lover, showing even less concern. All I could do was silently wish him well. From time to time, I would deliver a bucket of delights, always leaving hastily before he could begin to eat. The group of delinquents would huddle in the corner, and as soon as I departed, they would rush over to seize the food. "Zhuang, Aunt is leaving." "No!" This time, Zhuang attempted to cling to my leg, but I jumped back and dashed away, waving as I ran. "Zhuang, in a couple of days, Aunt will bring you more goodies," I said. Witnessing the despair on my nephew's face and the gleeful expressions of the boys lurking in the corner, it brought me immense satisfaction. Of course, I said this to those ruffians to satiate their appetites, granting Zhuang a fleeting respite. However, when the delectable treats cease, their bullying will undoubtedly intensify. A week later, Zhuang suddenly called me, "Auntie, when will you bring me the family bucket?" Hearing my nephew's voice, nearly on the brink of tears, filled me with exhilaration. I stifled my inner jubilation while feigning displeasure. "Zhuang, I've been exceedingly busy with work lately. You are growing up now and should consider your aunt's circumstances." "No!" my nephew shouted in protest. I promptly hung up the phone. The thought of the trials my nephew was about to face made me unable to suppress my laughter. At noon, I took a half-day leave and arrived at my sister-in-law's workplace. Shortly thereafter, a black car screeched to a halt at the factory entrance, and a group disembarked, led by an irate woman who stormed into the premises. Before long, I witnessed this woman grappling with my sister-in-law, yanking her hair and delivering slaps, hurling insults such as slut and vixen. My sister-in-law, bewildered by the assault, fled in panic. The factory workers exchanged glances, but no one dared to intervene. I slipped into the factory, discreetly recording the scene of this confrontation on my phone, relishing the moment. It was I who had anonymously sent the photographs of my sister-in-law's infidelity to her husband, along with her workplace details, all to ensure her disgrace was complete, leaving her utterly humiliated. The enraged woman tore my sister-in-law's clothing, exposing her fair skin. The situation had spiraled out of control, prompting my colleagues to swiftly intervene and halt the escalating farce. In the end, I switched off the recording and mounted my electric scooter, racing towards the lottery shop. Upon entering, I spotted my brother, sitting upright and diligently studying the lottery trend charts, his small notebook incessantly filled with notes. Ever since he won 3,000 yuan from the lottery, his audacity had only grown. However, my sister-in-law's desire to control my brother's finances remained unwavering, her vigilance over his wallet more precious to her than life itself. Thus, I resorted to this desperate measure. That evening, when my sister-in-law returned home, a thick layer of foundation concealed the marks of scratches on her face. The moment she saw me, her gaze darted away, avoiding direct eye contact. "Sister-in-law, how did you get hurt? Did someone scratch you?" She was taken aback, glaring at me with a fierce intensity. "No, I just slipped and fell." Her fib was so transparent that even a dog would not believe it. "Sister-in-law, if someone is bullying you, you must tell me. If I cannot handle it, my brother will. What is there to fear?" "Thank you, little sister," she replied with a faint, bitter smile. "Who would dare bully your sister-in-law?" "Sister-in-law, for the past 2 months, my brother has been unable to even afford a pack of cigarettes. Please return his salary card." Suddenly, she erupted in unreasonable anger. "The money is mine. Why should I give it to him?" "Sister-in-law, if you do not return the card to my brother, do not blame me for being ruthless. I am fully aware of everything that transpired this noon. Are you threatening me?" "I merely wish to reclaim what rightfully belongs to my brother. Please give it some thought." With that, I turned on my heel and left without a backward glance. Tonight is destined to be a sleepless night for my sister-in-law. I suspect that soon she will fabricate yet another scandalous tale about me. When she sends me that digitally altered indecent image and interrogates me with a stern demeanor, I shall promptly forward her the original video without alteration. That very night, my brother received his salary card. Subsequently, my sister-in-law's demeanor towards me transformed entirely. She became amiable and excessively accommodating. Only I am aware of the murderous intent concealed behind her seemingly benign facade. With the acquisition of his salary card, my brother became resolute, indulging in lottery tickets without hesitation. Encouraged by another version of myself, he began borrowing to fund his consumption. Yet, as I anticipated the arrival of a winning ticket worth 3,000 yuan, it perpetually eluded me. Concurrently, my brother's luck plummeted. He did not win a single prize. He fell once more into the depths of despair, consumed by a sense of helplessness. No matter how much encouragement I offered from my alternate self, he remained detached, as if he had transcended worldly concerns. Ultimately, it was time to implement Plan B. Initially, I hesitated to wade into these murky waters, but revenge left me with no alternative. After I sent him a digitally manipulated image of yet another lottery win amounting to 1 million, and showed him my bank account balance, I remarked, "You truly are the favored child of fortune. The heavens bestow good luck upon you. Perhaps you could be as well. Do you know why? Because I have faith in you. Perhaps you are indeed cursed by our national lottery. Why not try your luck with international lotteries? This is the prize I claimed last week, 1 million. Really? Where can I find overseas lottery tickets?" My brother seems to be falling into the trap. With the bait nearly taken, I stumbled upon the existence of illegal lotteries last month during a casual online exploration. I invested a modest sum to investigate further and indeed discovered its striking resemblance to gambling. It follows the classic scheme of hooking a big catch with a small bait, initially luring in with rebates, only to ultimately consume the principal. Having calculated these aspects, I directed him to the customer service of the illegal lottery. An hour later, my brother sent me good news, claiming he spent 100 yuan on a scratch card and won 1,000 yuan. He felt quite accomplished. Well, since he has fallen for the ruse, I have no time to play with him any longer. The rest is entirely in the hands of a customer service representative named Xiaoli, whose persuasive skills are exceptional. She attends to him with heartfelt sincerity. If I were a man, I would surely be enamored by her. Soon enough, my brother became ensnared in the illegal lottery, unable to extricate himself. He gambled small amounts and frequently struck it lucky with lottery wins. While I offered him my blessings, I maintained my distance. As I watched the clock tick away, I knew today would be an unforgettable day. In a previous life, urban planning had reached our old neighborhood, and the news of impending demolition spread like wildfire. At that time, my brother had already moved into a grand villa with my money, having sold our old house long ago. Upon hearing the news, he was furious and pounded his thighs in frustration. After calculating their losses, family members cast me sinister glares, cursing me as a harbinger of misfortune who had brought ruin upon their wealth. Now, the residents of our community were in a state of frenzy, with some even resigning in advance to embrace a life of retirement. Everyone is eagerly anticipating the windfall of millions that would allow them to embark on a new chapter in life. In a fleeting moment, even the housing prices in our small county town are surging uncontrollably. As the sole heir in the family, my brother has shed his previous demeanor of defeat and is now unreservedly targeting his wife. He not only ridicules her with scornful remarks, but also channels all his frustrations about his missed lottery opportunities onto her. He recounts his near victories, once misplacing his ticket and another time miscalculating a number, blaming it all on the disaster star in the family who has thwarted his chances of winning. A heated argument ensues between them. My brother, in a fit of anger, even holds her accountable for the numbers he dreamt about the previous night, lamenting his failure to remember them. His wife glares at him and threatens to leave home once again. This time, however, no one attempts to stop her. As she prepares to storm out, my brother coldly warns, "Think carefully. Once you leave this house, it won't be easy to return." His wife, well aware of the future value of this old house, silently closes the door and, dragging her suitcase, turns her back on him as she retreats into the room. I then step in, taking on the role of a comforter. At that moment, she is weeping behind her hands, and upon seeing me, she scowls and shouts, "Get out." "Sister-in-law, let us make a deal," I propose. A silence lingers for a minute before she finally responds, "What kind of deal?" "You see, my brother is completely ensnared in this situation, and there's no pulling him out. To prevent this family from falling apart, I, as his sister, must take some drastic measures to awaken him. How shall we proceed?" My sister-in-law suddenly expressed her excitement, her eyes gleaming with a fierce light. "Let my brother experience the true essence of familial disintegration and utter ruin." My sister-in-law wore a perplexed expression. "Sister-in-law, if there is a relocation, my brother could end up with millions, only to possess nothing in the end. You and Zhuang would receive not a single penny, nor have a place to reside. It would be far better to let my brother plunge into despair now, exhausting his wealth, so that when he has nothing left, we would all benefit in our own ways." My sister-in-law perked up, "But how can we render your brother destitute? If he truly ends up with nothing, he will surely sell the house, and you know your mother will always side with him. If only we could find a way to confine my brother for a while. After all, my mother only truly cares for Zhuang, and the property deed bears only her name." "Prison." My sister-in-law's eyes sparkled with a newfound fervor. "Are you suggesting we imprison him?" "Sister-in-law, you are exaggerating. I never suggested that. What else could we do? If we don't imprison him, we will all suffer the consequences." My sister-in-law flushed with urgency. The thought of acquiring wealth and establishing a new life with her former lover laid bare her ambitions. "Then let my brother go wild. You know how stifling it has been for him to be a mere junior accountant these past few years. Sister, you truly are ruthless. We are two of a kind." I chuckled. From that moment on, my brother was liberated from all constraints, embarking on an uncontrollable quest for fortune. By chance, I found myself conversing with a customer service representative named Xiaoli, and I learned that my brother had become utterly ensnared in the web of illegal gambling. Not only had he taken out loans from the dark corners of the internet, but he was also living a life sustained by borrowing against debt. Even Xiaoli contemplated relinquishing her interest in this seemingly unprofitable individual. However, when I informed her that my brother's house was on the verge of demolition, with compensation expected to be no less than 10 million, I could almost feel the intensity of Xiaoli's gaze through the screen. Her commission was on the horizon. Strangely enough, under a different guise, I discovered during a conversation with my brother that he had been extraordinarily lucky lately, frequently winning the lottery. Throughout our exchange, he persistently invited me to meet him, and I declined each time, perhaps due to the frequency of my rejections. He became incensed and lamented that I would come to regret my choices in the future. He claimed to have uncovered the secret to winning the lottery and asserted that it would not be long before his wealth surpassed mine. Without hesitation, I blocked this delusional individual. How audacious for a person drowning in debt to boast before me. One evening, my brother burst out of his room clad in crimson shorts, exuding an exuberance that startled us as we sat watching television in the living room. "I am destined to win the jackpot," he exclaimed, veins bulging from his neck. His jaw thrust upward as if to pierce the ceiling, his bloodshot eyes glaring down at us with a regal disdain. Beside him, my sister-in-law wore a faint smile, her demeanor reminiscent of a humble concubine awaiting a decree. "My man is the finest in the world," she declared with unwavering admiration. "You are bound to achieve greatness." My brother's eyes sparkled with an otherworldly brilliance. At that moment, a message from Xiaoli, whom I had not contacted in ages, arrived. "Sister, is your information reliable? It has been so long, yet there has been no news from him. We have invested a significant amount." "Rest assured, it is reliable," I replied. And after sending the message, I promptly blocked Xiaoli. From that point onward, my brother became utterly obsessed, incessantly reciting, "Heaven will confer a great responsibility upon a person. It must first torment their will, labor their muscles, and starve their body." He was brainwashing himself. Excellent. This was precisely the effect I desired. It seemed even fate was aiding me. However, my brother's pride did not endure for long. A series of setbacks soon followed. He had not won the lottery again. Unfazed by the odds, he became consumed with buying tickets. This reckless spending completely depleted our family savings accumulated over the years. My brother fell into a deep state of doubt, remaining in a daze for quite some time. Then, he turned to me, staring blankly. "Sister, do you think I have truly lost my mind, driven mad by the desire to win the jackpot?" "Brother, how could that be? As the old saying goes, one must be a bit mad to thrive. The darkest hour is just before dawn," I encouraged him. His eyes sparkled once more, shining brightly. He solemnly nodded. "You truly understand me, sister." Observing him in his frenzied state, I realized the moment was approaching. It was time to give him another nudge. "Brother, are you not considering placing a larger bet?" "Alas," he sighed, "my salary each month is entirely spent on lottery tickets, leaving me with nothing." "Sister, could you lend me a little money?" "Brother, you know my situation. For the sake of this family and to nourish Zhuang, I am equally impoverished. I am sorry, dear sister, for the burden I place upon you. Please bear with me a little longer. I shall surely improve, and when I succeed, I will grant you anything your heart desires." "Thank you, brother." I feigned a smile, though my heart churned with nausea. But without money, how can one rise again? The spark in his eyes gradually dimmed. "Brother, why not borrow some money from the company? When you win the jackpot, you can repay it with interest." At that moment, as he raised his head, the dullness in his gaze suddenly brightened, a new moon rising from the depths of his dark eyes. Days passed one by one. As the sister-in-law who shared my bed, she constantly kept me informed. It was she who, just as my brother hesitated, gave him a vigorous push from behind. The atmosphere at home underwent a complete transformation. My brother and sister-in-law often returned late, lost in their own dreams. Whenever she returned home and found my brother absent, she would turn on her heel and leave, leaving my mother to sigh on the sofa. "Mother, why the frustration? Soon my brother will provide you with a life of comfort." Instantly, my mother's face brightened with joy. Now, Zhuang had completely become an orphan. Whenever I thought of him, I would buy a bucket of KFC and take it to school for him. He had grown even more sullen, and his gaze toward me had turned increasingly fierce, as if he wished to tear me apart. I merely handed him the family bucket, and as he took it and turned away, he ceased to call me aunt. I understood that in the coming days, he would find some relief. However, when the KFC bucket does not arrive in a few days, an inevitable beating awaits, for that group of ruffians has already discovered the art of feasting at my expense. Each time they called me, I would delay for several days before delivering the family bucket to him. In those moments, I could distinctly observe the bruises adorning Zhuang's arms. Poor child, it seems the bullying has not been sufficient. Zhuang is gradually losing weight, no longer the plump figure he once was. Yet, his gaze toward me grows increasingly fierce, often penetrating me with a chilling stare. Upon leaving school, I exhaled deeply, for soon our lives would no longer intersect. My brother's obsession with the lottery has intensified, with amounts that have long surpassed his salary. Within just a week, I could clear out thousands of lottery tickets from his room. Looking at them, I realized he had completely ensnared himself. Each week, I quietly organized his expired tickets into neat boxes. These masterpieces would become the final straw that breaks the camel's back. On the surface, I took on the responsibility for the household, caring for my nephew Zhuang's life. I provided him with 50 yuan each week, just enough to cover his weekly expenses. Gradually, my brother and sister-in-law began to offload their burdens onto me, entrusting me with full responsibility. I knew both of them were quite unhinged now, and I began my countdown. One evening, my sister-in-law divulged to me the secrets on my brother's phone, revealing records of embezzlement. My sister-in-law and I worked through the night to compose a letter of accusation. However, when it came time to sign it, I hesitated. Sister-in-law, I do not wish to betray my kin. After all, he is my brother. At this juncture, inaction is not an option, my sister-in-law declared as she boldly inscribed her name. Remember, your signature is also included. Do not mess this up, she warned. Days passed in a seemingly tranquil manner. The eagerly anticipated day of demolition finally arrived. Our old neighborhood was filled with residents eagerly counting down the days, awaiting the promised redevelopment. A windfall of cash was expected, and everyone's eyes gleamed with anticipation. Yet, amidst this excitement, a surge of rumors began to circulate, shattering our hopes. The city had revised its plans, and our beloved community would not be demolished after all. The collective heart of the neighborhood came to a sudden halt, and resentment erupted. My sister-in-law was utterly devastated, vociferously lambasting my brother and declaring her intent to divorce him. He, once so commanding, now appeared diminished, as if all strength had been drained from him. I continued to fulfill my role as a dutiful daughter and a caring sister, diligently tending to our household. Occasionally, I would catch a glimpse of my mother's affectionate gaze, her lips curling into a gentle smile. At times, I pondered why this woman, who had never taken charge, would conspire to bring me to ruin alongside them. I possessed the means to provide her with a better life. The more I ruminated, the tighter the knot of frustration in my heart became. My brother was indeed in trouble. That afternoon, he sat alone, dejected and listless, his hair resembling a disheveled nest. Half of it turned white, his vacant eyes fixed on the window. Jump, if you are a man, be brave, I urged myself inwardly. Yet this cowardly man ultimately lacked the courage to embrace death. Sister, why does fate always play tricks on us? Brother, what is the matter? He wept quietly, his voice failing him. I was already well acquainted with the grim reality. The madness of that period had blinded him to the fact that destiny had long since marked its price in the shadows. He, my brother, a mere accountant, had embezzled nearly $1 million from the company. Following my anonymous tip-off, he was apprehended for misappropriating funds. Upon his arrest, the company presented him with two options: serve time in prison or repay the money. Between incarceration and repayment, my brother chose to sell the house. Our mother, in utter despair, consented. The three of us decided to keep this from my sister-in-law for the time being. On the day the agent came to view the house, I quietly placed our father's treasured sword in the most prominent spot in the living room before messaging my sister-in-law. At that moment, my brother suddenly raised his gaze, a contemplative expression crossing his face. Sister, help me this time. I know you have a way. His eyes revealed an unexpected calmness, a tranquility he had never possessed before. I know you have money, a great deal of it. Please assist me. A sense of disquiet, reminiscent of a past life, surged within me. Noticing my silence, my brother's gaze hardened. You have won my prize. Can you not spare a little help? He rose, his face shadowed with a chilling intensity as he approached me. I glanced at the knife on the counter, fear creeping into my heart. Jack, how dare you sell the house behind my back? The moment my sister-in-law kicked open the door, her shoulder struck him like a forklift, sending him staggering. You had the audacity to sell the house without consulting me. You've crossed the line, she shouted vehemently. Once my brother regained his balance, a sharp slap resonated through the air, leaving a crimson mark on his pale face. He stood frozen, his mind momentarily vacant. I've boarded this treacherous ship with you. You've ruined my life, my sister-in-law incessantly berated him, spewing a torrent of harsh words. Jack, I have tolerated you for long enough. If it weren't for the fact that this old house still holds some value, I would never have put up with you. Now that the demolition is off, I won't endure you any longer. I noticed my brother's eyes darting around before he raised his hand in a vengeful gesture towards her. She shielded her face, and blood seeped from the corner of her mouth. You hit me. How dare you strike me? she exclaimed, her eyes wide with fury. Just wait. I will file for divorce. Instantly, my brother appeared deflated, covering his face as he sank onto the sofa. I approached him, and he looked at me with anguish, as if I were his last lifeline, tightly grasping my arm. Little sister, please help me. You are my only hope now. Brother, I will help you. Really? His eyes sparkled with hope. You truly are my wonderful sister. The countdown began as I took a deep breath. A chime echoed, signaling the doorbell. I walked over to open the door. As expected, it was the delivery person. Is this Jack's residence? Yes, I replied. That's my brother. I received the package swiftly and approached my brother. It must be a lawyer's letter from the company. I'm not afraid anymore. Even if the King of Heaven himself came, I wouldn't flinch. Taking a deep breath, I felt the relentless engine of anxiety churning within my chest, causing the metallic taste of blood to seep from my gums. It was time. With a swift motion, I tore open the envelope, and a cascade of photographs spilled onto the floor. At the forefront was a photograph of my sister-in-law, joyfully embraced by another man. My brother's face turned ashen, his grip on the photos trembling uncontrollably. That wretched woman, he exclaimed, rising to confront her. Hold on, brother. Do you know who reported you? I handed him the letter bearing my sister-in-law's name. His face contorted in rage, the hue of fury spreading across his features. He bolted into the room. Oh! You found out. I was just about to tell you. It was I who reported you, you scoundrel, and I intend to see you imprisoned. Selling the house? Not a chance. Why? Why would you do this to me? My brother bellowed. Why, you dare to ask? Look at yourself, a complete coward. After all these years together. When have you ever made me happy? You impotent fool. What right do you have to question me? The sound of a resounding slap echoed through the air. The scene fell into silence, followed by the sound of something crashing to the ground. The sister-in-law leapt onto my brother, scratching, clawing, biting, and cursing. Jack, you struck me. How dare you strike me again? My brother, in a panic, fled the room, while the sister-in-law, her eyes aflame with rage, emerged wielding a pair of scissors. Brother, I called out. He faltered for a moment, and the scissors plunged into his arm, crimson blood staining his once white t-shirt. I will kill you. I will kill you. The sister-in-law had completely lost her sanity. Through my eyes, my brother noticed a large knife resting on the counter. He seized it and swung it once. I exited the house and slammed the door behind me. I fled, sprinting with the fervor of an 800-meter dash, racing down to the ground floor. I shouted to anyone I saw, my sister-in-law has committed murder. The neighbors exchanged bewildered glances. Before long, my brother emerged, drenched in blood, and I clutched at the clothing of a bystander, seeking refuge behind them. Fear was palpable on everyone's faces as they parted to make way. My brother dashed out of the community at a speed reminiscent of a 100-meter sprint, and only then did the onlookers snap out of their shock, hastily retrieving their phones to call the authorities. When the police arrived, I accompanied them upstairs. There, I beheld the sister-in-law lying in a pool of blood, already lifeless. Our mother, returning from grocery shopping, was so horrified by the scene that she fainted on the spot. I took her to the hospital. By the time I returned, night had fallen. My brother had become a fugitive, wanted throughout the city. Approaching our community, a figure emerged from the greenery, blocking my path. As the dim streetlight illuminated his face, I recognized my brother. Brother, I whispered, my heart racing with fear, which only intensified. Sister, I am in such despair, he exclaimed, clutching his head as he crouched before me. Brother, just turn yourself in. The police are everywhere. Surrendering is out of the question. He stubbornly turned his gaze to the distance. That wretched woman tried to kill me. I was merely defending myself. Sister, you were present. You must testify for me. I am not a murderer. Brother, it's too late for words now. You should turn yourself in and seek leniency. Sister, if you give me 10 million, I will overlook the fact that you stole my grand prize. I have made up my mind. I will go to northern Myanmar and, within 3 years, I shall return with multiples of that sum. Brother, what are you even thinking? In an instant, my brother sprang up, his face resembling the blue light of a cold storage alarm, drawing a dagger from his waist and advancing inch by inch towards me. If you refuse to give me the money, then you can accompany that vile woman. Brother, I called out to him once more. Have you decided to part with the money? My brother bared his teeth, scrutinizing me with keen eyes. Brother, you're awakening far too late. As soon as I spoke, a jolt from a taser struck him from behind. He convulsed momentarily before the dagger clattered to the ground. Another 2 jolts from the taser rendered him as helpless as a fish on its back, collapsing straight to the ground. Officers rushed in, promptly securing my brother with silver handcuffs. I smiled faintly, exhaling a sigh of relief. The police hoisted him from the ground, gripping his neck and pressing his head down as they escorted him towards the approaching patrol car. I will not let this go. Just wait. My brother shouted incessantly. After my brother's escape that day, I instinctively knew he would come seeking money from me. I was his next target, so I implored the police to discreetly protect me, intending to lure my brother out and capture him in one fell swoop. Indeed, my gamble paid off. My brother was sentenced to death, and my mother subsequently fell gravely ill. My nephew was left entirely orphaned, and during his compulsory education, I vowed to take care of him. Once he graduated, I planned to send him to a factory to toil away, allowing him to experience the hardships of life. However, before he could finish his studies, that rascal sneaked away with a group of disenchanted peers. The day before his departure, I encountered him. He glared at me fiercely, declaring that once he earned a fortune, he would return to settle the score with me. I stifled a laugh and offered him my best wishes. Unexpectedly, 2 weeks later, I received a call from an unknown number. The man on the line boasted, "Your nephew has been kidnapped. Bring a ransom of 1 million. And do not contact the police, or I'll ensure he never sees the light of day again." I burst into laughter, leaving the kidnapper momentarily dumbfounded. I won't call the police, absolutely not. I managed to suppress my laughter, but I don't have 1 million, so it would be best if he didn't see tomorrow's sun. You don't believe me? Oh, I do, ha 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 ha. The call ended, and the kidnapper sent a video. In it, my nephew hung in midair, bruised and battered. Aunt, help me. Save me. Aunt. I turned off the video and blocked the number. Leaning back silently in the recliner, my spirit soared. The kidnapper's calls had come twice more, each time met with my resolute refusal, followed by threats of involving the authorities. The kidnapper dared not call again. My mother's health gradually improved, and this woman, who had never taken charge of her life, evoked both pity and disdain in me. Ultimately, I made the decision for her one last time, sending her to a nursing home. Let her spend the remainder of her days there, peacefully like a solitary mother. I would not see her again. My company intended to terminate my employment. After winning the lottery, my attitude towards work became increasingly nonchalant. In my previous life, it was my boss who dismissed me. And in this life, he seemed even more displeased with me. Very well. Since you wish to terminate me unlawfully, then compensate me according to labor laws, I asserted, neither submissive nor arrogant. My boss regarded me, stating, "The company will offer you a maximum of 500 yuan. Then prepare to be sued." After suffering losses in my past life, I had meticulously gathered evidence for this very moment. My boss wore an expression that suggested he was barely holding back laughter. "Shaolin, you are too naive. The company is not afraid to battle you in court. We have all the time in the world for that. But do you? Think carefully. Should you choose to sue the company, I will ensure you vanish from this industry entirely." Oh, how arrogant of you. With that, I pulled out my phone, opened the Industrial and Commercial Bank app, and thrust the savings page towards his face. In an instant, my boss's countenance turned pale. "I have ample time to accompany you in this legal battle," I declared before rising to leave. Before I had even returned home, my boss called, his tone considerably softened, expressing the company's willingness to compensate me. "It's too late." I firmly declined, resolutely intent on pursuing legal action. I aim to demonstrate to those who exploit our youth that we are not so easily subdued. I enlisted a lawyer and submitted evidence highlighting the company's unlawful actions, such as failing to provide social security for employees. My hope is to impart a valuable lesson to them. Furthermore, through my actions, I aspire to awaken a greater awareness of labor laws among the public, encouraging courageous responses in the face of injustice. After all, your life is in your own hands. The end.